think it's about that time to get into Storytime segment since I realize that that's really something which people do enjoy from my content, especially on YouTube and shit. And obviously, haven't been having much viewership on YouTube as of late. That's fine. I'll just go ahead and describe some of my dreams and visions of which have been accumulated from my sleep, and which I'll go ahead and provide a vision of which I just had today. And it was a vision of two crows. And one of the crows is bickering over to the other crow. So this is probably for some people out there in which have friends that gossip, or people in which they know or they themselves are gossiping too. And the one thing I do have to say is be careful around people in which do gossip, because if they're going to be gossiping about other people to you, then get away from them, because they will gossip to other people about you. Okay? And there was one of them was talking about a lion that had tiger stripes, and which was trying to be bigger than he was, even though he was king of jungle and shit. And so I guess the lion said to himself, well, if I put tiger stripes on me, I'll be bigger than I really am. Whenever it comes to tigers, they aren't usually seen as kings of the jungle. The lion is. So this could be something to the extent of you're trying to, I don't know, exert an image and which doesn't really fit who you are, and it really cuts you off from the substance of which you actually need to, tear away from. The way I would have to see it is this, is that you don't need to be bigger in order to be the king of the jungle. You don't need to portray that image. If you're just as you are, you're already the fucking king of the jungle. So if there's anything in which you're probably having in terms of environment, with people in which you're interacting with on a professional level, and you're exuding an image which just ain't connected to substance, other people are seeing insecurities within that. They're just not saying it, as I'm sensing that most aren't. So those were something in which I guess could help out some people in which are watching this vid. But I'll go ahead and describe dreams now. There was one dream of which I had in which I was pretty much near the reptilian race, or speaking with reptilians, and they essentially tried to do a ceremony for me. And the whole act was to lay with one of their concubines or some shit like that, in which I guess it was supposed to symbolize ultimate perversion in order to be transformed into a serpent. And what's funny is that whenever the reptilians pretty much teared away their fabric and veils from themselves, they all looked the same. They were all, serpents, of which, honestly, almost like worms even, like a mixture between a serpent and a worm. And they pretty much stated that if we are capable in all things, we are all equal. And then I said to myself, but wait, doesn't that destroy the essence of individuality to choose? To choose from the very substance of which one has potentials to do? And they really couldn't answer anything on that premise. And they pretty much left me alone. But then one of the there was like a council, like five to seven of which were sitting on the council. And I guess one of them invited me to the ceremony because they thought I was going to take the deal, but I didn't. And so the council jumped on that member's ass for pretty much saying, why the fuck did you recommend this guy? He's not fucking doing what we're doing. He's not transforming as you think that he should. And I was given an outlook on their civilization and the things in which they dabbled into. I honestly, it just seems like America, whenever it comes to consumption, but 1,000 times more twisted. 1,000 times more twisted. They would have other civilizations, like they would cook them up in fucking restaurants and shit, and I would hear screams in the restaurants. And there would be these fucked up advertisements of, do you like to eat a cooked alive baby or some shit? It gets that fucking twisted, dude. I don't know how the hell that even came as a dream, but it did. And they would even have other aliens pretty much solidified and cannot move. And they were pretty much in a slow state of torture, but they would be paraded around in a circus-like environments, like for the kids and shit. And what's funny is this, is that what I was supposed to get from that ceremony, if I was to choose to become one of them, was that they would give me all the necessities whenever it came to the resources I needed at my disposal, and which I would never be without. And I pretty much denied that offer, and a whole load of fucking things other than that started happening. And I don't know if I can get into too vivid of a description about it, but that was definitely a very lucid dream in which I had, so I decided to share it. And there was one instance in which a person, an alien, tried to pretend to be one of them. And he did so to sabotage one of their living chambers. Because how their civilization was made was it was a series of tubes through asteroid belts and shit like that, where the asteroids were connected to each other, but they would be connected to tube-like structures, and they would have these sleeping chambers for the reptilians to sleep in and shit like that. And essentially, the sabotager fucking turned off their life support while they were in their sleeping chamber, and pretty much said, making fun of their motto that says, if I can conquer, if I can have someone serve me by mind, spirit, and will, then all of it should serve me. I deserve it all. Or something to that effect. And then he pretty much said, so much for the power on which you thought you had. And pretty much reptilians started dying off. So I don't know what the fuck that dream was about. Honestly, I don't. But it was very symbolic for me. And I guess whenever it comes to me working with the darker elements, I know this gets into some pretty schizo type shit, so I'll keep it on the small margin. And I was probably offered that deal because I was working with darker energies, and they thought I was going to commit to it and be one of them, but I didn't take it. What other dream can I include? Now, I've been having dreams about crime syndicates more often now, because in the spiritual realm, I have, back then, in my start of my practice, I have tried to reach out to them and even go into what their operations are consisting of whenever it comes to mental projection over to their fields. And I noticed that they would have other practitioners kick me out of the astral realm whenever it comes to what they're doing. And they have their own fucking squadrons. Trust me, whenever you got other practitioners, guarding the secrecy of what the fuck you're doing, there's a reason for that. It's because on the spiritual realm, there is no such thing as privacy. You got to have gatekeepers for that shit. And other practitioners are pretty much that. So essentially, I encountered a cartel guy, of which was a head of a taco restaurant, and he was a damn good cook. And I was one of the workers within it. And I guess supposedly I had a history of criminal activity. And essentially, there was supposed to be like some sort of prize for the employee of the fucking month or year. And was supposed to be very special prize. And then he pretty much sat me down at a table asking me, where's the prize, dude? And there was two other coworkers of mine which were right next to him. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I didn't take any prize, dude. I didn't steal it. And he said, well, you're the only one that has a history here. And then, after I pretty much didn't give him what he wanted, then he fucking grabbed a gun and pointed it at my fucking face, saying, where did you put the prize? And then I sat back, and this was whenever I woke up. Then I sat back, and for some reason, I guess I was still in the dream state whenever I woke up, because I was still talking to the person as if he was there. And I said, I pondered in the back of my head, why the fuck is he asking this? And then I realized he was testing me. He was testing me because he was going to be using that restaurant as a storefront. And the reason why he pointed that gun, he said, why did you take the prize, was that he was testing if I was reading between the lines. Because my two other coworkers weren't seen as suspects, yet I was. And I was wondering why the fuck that was. And even though he said I had a history, it's like he pointed the gun only at my fucking face. And the strangest part about it was that I think he was recruiting me. recruiting whoever the fuck I was in that dream. And I realized that there was no prize. That I realized that the prize was bullshit, because if the prize was so special, then he would have kept it somewhere that he wouldn't have fucking lost it, or it wouldn't have been stolen. So that was what started happening, of which I was exchanging with them. And then I felt a chill go up my spine, as if that was the truth. That was the truth of the situation in which I was facing. And whenever I woke up, and I was still communicating with him as if he was fucking there, even though he wasn't. I swear, that sometimes that happens. And that was pretty much the end of that dream. There was another also, of which I did manage to astral project successfully, in which I was floating in a room, in which I realized I was light as fuck, and I was floating, hovering, in a room in a dream. And then I realized, oh no, this ain't the dream, dude. This is fucking astral projection. I'm floating, I'm weightless, nothing's really stopping me. And so I started imagining locations to go to, in which in astral projections, wherever you think, you go to. You fucking go to. There is no blockage for you. You can travel to any realm, to any world, to any situation, to anywhere on this goddamn planet. So I went to Egypt. And Egypt had a fucking, what's the word for it? A dust storm. A storm of dust in which it was flowing over the fucking place. Granted, I wasn't there long because I was fucking stoked I was able to astral project in that dream, in which I guess it turned into an astral projection during that dream state. And I went to another location in which I guess there was a summoning, a conjuration. Now, granted, I didn't really pick a location in my mind. I just thought, well, fucking, okay, I'll go over here. I just thought about it, and then immediately I was present there. And essentially, there was these whole line of creatures, blue-skinned creatures, that looked like fucking, I don't know, something from Power Rangers or some shit, which were like the enemies type deal, in which they were sent to a location, in which I didn't know why. And this was after I transferred and teleported from various locations and from my friend's hotel room. Whenever I was trying to make a deal with a flight passport and shit like that, that's whenever I realized I was actually astral projecting. And then I realized, shit, I don't need a plane. I can just go where the fuck I need to. So I started moving from place to place. And that's the only time in which I have had an actual astral projection, of which was successful in my dream state. For the gist of this, I'm going to keep it small because I know my battery storage is low and I don't want to fuck with it because I'm saving it for other shit in which, trust me, it'll blow your fucking mind once it's done. So, blessing be, brothers and sisters, if there's anything in which you're interested in whenever it comes to conspiracy theories, honestly, this fucking these visions and dreams I just included, you'll probably have a fun time in the comment section. I wouldn't doubt it.